Baltimore from New York Empire Baseball, sometimes referred to as the nicest compliment I've gotten in the baseball industry is Deven Morgan East. It's the strangest, coolest compliment ever. I said, I've now accomplished everything I need to do in youth baseball the day that somebody called me that. And a true story, and it was the funniest thing because, as you'll learn tonight, before Deven and I met, it was almost like these folks and I were just talking about it. Before we met, it seemed like we were in lockstep without knowing it, right? I didn't know Deven, hadn't read his material. Got an organization that started 15 years ago with one team, as so many of you probably tell the same story on the youth side. And now we're 64 teams, 1,000 kids, an indoor facility right there in Manhattan, training from little kids all the way up to pros. And when we came across Deven's work, it was, number one, I think I said it last night, I thought I was a good baseball coach until I read Deven's stuff and said, okay, I'm okay. The bar is so much higher, it's incredible because what he's done with some of the thoughts that we have and things we implement is just light years ahead, and it's extraordinary, and the impact it's had already is exceptional and exciting. Everywhere I go and throughout ABCA, there's some buzz and excitement, as much about Deven and his work at Driveline as anybody in the industry. It comes from a really good place, as for those of you who know already know. So that being said, again, thanks for coming out. What we're going to do here tonight, if you don't already know this, some really exciting news that I'm so excited to share if you haven't already heard. Over the last 14 months, and Deven will share this, I don't steal any thunder, Deven has written a book called Skills That Scale, which if you know him, you already know pieces of it and you understand the concepts behind it, but he's going to share that with you here tonight. And I mentioned last night, for those of you at the youth meeting, I mentioned last night that to say that it's 14 months of his work is an understatement, and it doesn't know justice. It's his life's work, and it's the culmination of every aspect of his life, and it's going to be a little emotional, probably far more than you bargained for this evening. So when you see one of us cry, don't laugh at it. Well, you can laugh at it. I get laughed at pretty regularly by my own staff, so you might as well join the club. I'll share it. Last night, if you weren't there, we were speaking at a youth panel or a youth meeting with a couple hundred youth coaches in there, and had no intention of doing it. And right there in the middle, I'm about to introduce Deven, and I just start to tear up. And here it goes again. Damn it. Can't get through a day with this guy without having some tears in my eyes. Look, I'm just going to pass it over to him because what he's going to share with you from his book is exceptional. It's extraordinary. It's going to lay the groundwork. I think I called it yesterday revolutionary. because it's not evolutionary. Evolutionary, hey, we're going to take the next step. We're going to do a better drill. We're going to make things a little bit better. We're going to grow 10% this year. And for most of us, that's good enough, right? Let's squeeze the orange a little tighter. There's a new competitor in town. I better squeeze the orange even tighter. Well, what if you don't need to squeeze the orange? What if we're doing it wrong? What if we all have great intent? Because I'm going to tell you, if you're in this room, there's a reason you're here, right? We understand, and the people who invited you understand that you get this and you appreciate it. So in many ways, Deven, you might be preaching to the choir. Sure. So I think everyone in this room, your heart and mind are in the right place. But what if we're going to learn something from this book that's way more than the drills that are included in it? It's going to lay a brand new foundation for everything you do. And for some of you, you're already doing it, great. For some of you, you're going to say, it sounds great, but I can't do it. And that's where I come in. I'm going to share after Deven talks some of our strategies for how we implement scalable solutions for training your coaches, training your players, to go ahead and execute what Deven talks about. Because I'll tell you now, Deven and I debated this while he was writing the book. I said, it's too much. I said, if you're looking to get this book out to hundreds or thousands of coaches and the ABCA and all throughout the country, it's not going to happen. So because what most coaches want is, I just need another drill. Tell me how to practice plan better. Tell me how to win more games. Well, what he's about to tell you is how you're going to win more games over the rest of your coaching career, and how you're going to develop more players so that you win more games. Not, here's the one drill. There's no silver bullet. But as we all know, from sitting throughout this for the last how many years of your life, it's a lot of guys in every industry looking for the silver bullet. Deven's approach, my approach, and from what I understand, all of your approach is a long-term approach. Right? Our version of winning is not what's the W's and L's over the next 3 weeks. Right? Can we win one more plastic trophy? It's far less important than how many players can we develop and grow the game and grow our organization. And look, I can tell you now, we don't look in my organization, we're 15 years old, we don't look at the P&L ever. Ever. We want to know if we're taking care of kids, because if we take care of kids and take care of their families, P&L takes care of itself. And it's a pleasure to be able to look at it that way, but if you're solving for your P&L over the next 10 days or 10 weeks, you can't take that approach. And we'll get into that a little more later. Before we move over to Deven, we have 3 partners who put this together with us. And I'm assuming you all know them. And they really form such a tremendous part of the foundation for what we all do. League Apps has become an incredible partner of ours. Somebody said that New York Empire Baseball was a League Apps customer before we were a League Apps customer. We had so much admiration for the direction they were taking the industry. So if you haven't, look, I'm not telling you to go buy their software. What works for your organization is what works for your organization. Take a look at what they're doing, particularly on the training side and the event side. And Duke, if you want to talk at the end of this about what you saw, because I know you weren't originally planning to come to it, what you saw on those panels today, I think we both had the same reaction. It was extraordinary, right? The direction they're taking this industry is incredible, and they don't ask for a nickel in return, right? They're out trying to make all the boats float higher. Strategy Red, if you don't know those guys, are they here in the room? Where is Luke? There they are. Just everyone I talk to is another Strategy Red customer. It's incredible, and the reason for it, and we finally got on board and said, hey, what can you do for us? And they put together some content for us that was incredible. So now I understand why. They just do great work. They get the industry. They're not a video company coming after, hey, how can I sell you social media? They're sports guys with expertise in marketing and video and strategy, and it's incredible the work they do. So appreciate you being such an important part of our organization, and obviously so many others. If I didn't like you, I wouldn't have a choice. And finally, Uplift Labs with John Moscott. If you don't already know John, make sure by the end of the night you go and find him. Longtime blast motion guy, longtime baseball guy. John's now at Uplift Labs, if you're not familiar. Markerless motion capture, 3D on 2 iPads. I will tell you now, we were able to build in a day a motion analysis lab in the 2nd floor of my facility. What we're getting out and able to analyze with players from Uplift is incredible, and I've already seen kind of under the hood and seen the roadmap, because the executive team at his organization is extraordinary. I think I'll share that. His CEO and founder is the former president of Tesla Japan. So what he's bringing to the youth sports and sports industry and fitness industry, I don't want to steal too much thunder from Uplift here, but look them up, because what they're doing, if you're in this room, you can afford their solution. And it's going to be a game changer in the industry, and the direction they're headed is going to carry all of us forward and enable all of us to scale, which is the most important. It's the reason we're here. So with that, look, I don't want to start the tears too early, but if you don't already know him, Deven Morgan's the director of youth baseball at Driveline Academy. He launched it. And I said last night, and I'll say it again, and I don't often speak in superlatives, but there's nobody I know in this entire industry whose heart and mind and passion and goals are more aligned with the needs of children. It's not about a dollar. It's not about driving business. The guy wants to make every kid better one at a time. And he didn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. Spent 14 months, right? It was a full-time job, writing a book that it's not going to be some financial windfall. It's going to make every boat float higher in baseball. And not just in youth baseball, because it's going to drive the future. So with that, I want to introduce my favorite colleague and friend, Deven Morgan.
Last night when Jordan said a bunch of other really nice things about me that make me incredibly uncomfortable, I joked that the best thing I could do would just be like fall off the stage to like reset the floor, right? First of all, I want to echo the thanks to our partners, Uplift, League Apps, and Strategy Red. I also want to give a different round of thanks to my brother Jordan Baltimore for being the hub that like turned this thing to make this actually happen tonight. Yeah, I need to like stay the course and make sure I execute my thing, because if I go off and we really want this to be a special evening, something that's a little bit different than what you typically get at a conference, right? I think typically what I used to come to these things looking for is the same thing that Jordan talked about, right? Give me some new drills, give me some new constraints, give me some new stuff I can take to my kids and try to like add that into my Rolodex. We want this to be different, we want this to be special, and the best way that I can make this evening special for you guys is to be honest with you. And that honesty starts with like being clear about what I am and where I came from. I wasn't that good at baseball. And if there was a time that I was good at baseball, I wasn't good enough when it started to matter. And like, that's just the truth, right? I didn't play at a high level. And I'm only in the position that I am now because for the last 14 years, other than my wife and my children, my life has revolved around one thing and one thing only, and that's youth baseball. And the unfortunate truth is that youth baseball is just not in a great place right now. Now, I'm aware that it's not exactly an enviable position to start this wonderful evening with you lovely people eating beautiful food and tell you that like everything's terrible. And the truth is that like everything isn't terrible. I can say with conviction that Jordan and I are doing everything in our power to change kids' lives right now. Some of you in this room, I know, are trying to make a difference the same way that we are, and that's great. We need a lot more of that. Because if the battle over the direction of youth baseball is a war, then it's a war that we are currently losing. I know that that sounds scary and dramatic. I am aware that I am prone to hyperbole. I get all that stuff. But here's the truth. Injury rates continue to skyrocket in a way that should be freaking all of us out. From 2003 to 2014, there was a huge study, wide sample. The rate of UCL reconstruction from 11 to 15-year-olds, basically pre-high school up into your freshmen, went up during that period of time by 669%. That's 2014, right? It's 10 years ago. So let's put that number into context. In 2014, Perfect Game had 63 events on their schedule. In 2022, Perfect Game's schedule included over 4,000 events. We are talking about a 6,349% increase. And the point that I'm trying to make is not that Perfect Game is the bad guy. It's not that. Perfect Game fills tournaments for us to put teams in, right? PG isn't the bad guy, it's the opposite. We are the ones that can't control ourselves. And by we, I mean us. Parents and coaches that are intimately involved in youth baseball and making decisions about the children who play it. And the trends, aside from the injury stuff, aren't good either. The Aspen Institute, with their Project Play initiative, their most recent data set that came out showed that baseball had a 20% drop in participation from 2022 to 2023. It's 20%, less participants. It was the most significant drop of any sport that they studied. And it gets worse. We suffered the worst retention loss of any major sport. Meaning, like, put this into context, right? Kids start playing t-ball, coach pitch, kid pitch. They want to continue to play this game up until the point that they don't. And we suffer that loss to the tune of about 1.6 to 1.8 million kids every single year. Do the math on how many rosters of 12-person teams that is. And it's a problem because what I think that our game can be a conduit of. I think it's the thing that our game is uniquely qualified to teach, and it's very one simple thing, which is resilience. I think resilient people are more likely to be successful people. And if we can grow more resilient people through this game, I think we can make a huge positive impact on society as a whole. The trick is that kids need to play it long enough to learn that type of baseball-specific resilience. And when we run them out of the game, or they stop playing it, we miss that opportunity. And again, who's got the most leverage in this equation to kind of change things? It's us, right? It's coaches. So let's talk about coaches. The other thing the Aspen Institute studied, I'm going to walk around a little bit, I feel like I'm stuck in place. They studied the training that coaches got. More than 2/3 of coaches lack sport-specific or tactical training, training on motivational techniques, and training on general physical conditioning. That's an and, not an or. They lack all three of those things. So, if every one of us in this room is the opposite of those coaches, right? Understand, for every one of us that there is, there's two of them. Run that further. For every one kid that I provide a positive experience for, there are two kids that get something else. And the truth of the matter is, because I'm trying to be truthful with you guys, is that I was one of those coaches. That's how I started. I didn't want to be a bad coach, but I didn't know any better. I didn't get any training. I had a pulse. I raised my hand, and all of a sudden, I was in charge of teaching children. I've got a story that I could tell you, perhaps sometimes later tonight, about my worst moment as a youth baseball coach. But instead of doing that very depressing thing, I want to tell you about the moment that I decided I needed to change. Because I think it's a moment that all of us can have, and a realization that all of us can have, to push us to do something different in terms of the experience we provide to these kids. So this story comes in the prologue of the book, Skills to Scale, the Complete Youth Baseball Training Manual. It's about player training, it's about coach training, it's about skill development. All that stuff is well and good. But more than anything else, I think the book is honestly about how to love your kids through the game of baseball. I poured my guts into it. I gave it everything I've got over the last 14 months of writing it and the last 14 years of my life, and I hope at some point you guys will check it out. So this is the prologue of the book, and I'm going to try to read this and not cry as best as I can. The biggest change that I made as a coach happened the day after my grandmother died. My grandparents were instrumental not only in raising me, but also being there for me over my whole entire life. So, when my wife and I got married and had our first child, we named our daughter after my grandfather's mother, Cora, who he lost when he was very young. Fast forward a couple of years, and I was lucky enough to tell my grandfather that we were naming our son after him. So, Daniel, my son there, was born in January. My grandfather passed the following December. After my grandfather's passing, we all tried to surround and support my grandmother as best as we could. I know that towards the end that she was tired, and I know that towards the end she was in pain. But I truly believe that in that time, missing her husband and partner of 62 years, she was trying to give us as much time as we possibly could get. So, 8 years later on Thursday, she went into the hospital for a procedure. We had a AAA Little League game scheduled for that Saturday morning. Unfortunately, something happened during the procedure, and the prognosis afterwards was grim. When my wife and I got our kids together to tell them that Grandma didn't have much time left, I told my then 8-year-old son that we didn't need to play on Saturday. We should probably just stay home. Take the day off because that game, given the circumstances, absolutely did not matter. He told us, with all the conviction that an 8-year-old can muster, that Grandma would want him to play. So that's what we did. So Saturday comes and I let all the families of the kids on my team know in advance that I am very likely going to be a mess. And I try to tell my son that this is just like a game like any other. And whether he went 0 for 4 or 4 for 4, his grandma would be proud knowing that he did his best. The reality is that I can't shake the idea that he had of what playing for his grandma meant. And what that meant for him about the expectations he was putting on himself. So the game starts and he's like absolutely possessed. Complete hair on fire approach, which I know sounds preposterous for an 8-year-old kid, but it's what I saw. I know that it doesn't make any sense to say this, but it was like by giving everything his little body could that he was trying to push back against what an adult would understand is the natural order of things. If we're lucky, we get the privilege of a long and fulfilling life, but everybody's story still ends the same way. So the game's coming to a close, and he steps in the box for what is very likely going to be his last at-bat. I'm coaching in first base because my team's in the first base dugout, and we're recording video of that last at-bat for God knows what reason. He hits a hard one hopper right at the third baseman, who gloves it cleanly and throws a dot across the diamond. Not necessarily like an expected thing at AAA Little League Baseball, right? And it's one of those where you're coming into the bag as hard as you can, but you still know that it's almost a certainty that you're going to be out. You're running out a foregone conclusion. You run it out anyways. So later that evening, I'm in the hospital and watching the video, and I didn't realize it at the time, but the abject anguish on his face running up that baseline hits me like a gut punch. I can remember and I can see it in my mind, the pain that was written on his face. Maybe he knew that by making that out, reality was going to come thundering back. Or maybe he thought that by not being perfect that day meant that he was letting his grandmother down. It's hard to perfectly understand an 8-year-old child's mind, but either way, one thing was clear. Any pressure that I put on him as a coach was only multiplying the pressure he was putting on himself. And if that was true, then I had to be the one to do something different. It's easy to say that I started coaching just like most of us do in youth baseball, which is that the league asked and I answered. But the truth is often a little bit deeper than that. Quite a long time ago, and I do mean a long time ago, I'm getting close, a bad coach made me not want to play baseball any longer, and the thing that I loved turned into the thing that I loathed. As a fully formed adult, I do sometimes wish I had simply been tougher, and that I didn't let my coach push me to walk away. It's easy to lament the circumstances you couldn't control. It's a touch harder to face the ones that you could have changed. So when I started coaching, I was not a beacon of positivity. And the truth is that I was creating an experience for my kids that was no better than the one that I received. The coaches that I had when I was a kid were hard. And I'm sure that they simply coached us the way that they were coached. None of us, coaches, parents, or players at the time, early 80s, we didn't know any better. So I was a hard ass. Not only to my T-ball team, but to my coach pitch team, and my kid pitch team, and that AAA team. And specifically to my own son. And by carrying myself that way, I thought that I was helping, but I most assuredly was not. But then comes the evening, April 29, 2017, when my grandmother passed away. I'm sitting in the hospital and I'm watching video from the game that day and seeing the pain that was carved on my son's face. Something came into focus. I had to change how I was coaching the kids on my team, and most of all, I had to change the way that I was coaching my son. Right around that time, I found Driveline on Twitter. Signed up for Sunday Thunder Nuggets. Anybody get the Sunday emails? Downloaded the free programs, and through it all, was impressed with his data-driven and scientific approach. It resonated for me. Then, on February 12, 2018, my son and I walked through Driveline's doors for the first time to attend a 6-week off-season camp. And literally, as we're walking in the door, a guy by the name of Herbie Good, you Driveline OGs might remember that name, hits a ball 500 feet at 111 miles an hour as measured on our hit tracks unit. As we're walking in the door. It's like, okay, this is different. Driveline as a company obviously values data-driven player development. We've had incredible results working with and improving athletes all over the world at the highest level of competition. While I'm incredibly proud of what our company has done in college and professional baseball, the initiative of the Driveline Academy is a little different. Our goal is to change youth baseball in one singular way. Make player development the priority. We can prove the value and the leverage this approach by focusing on player development in two ways. One is by running our teams and showing the results of what are possible when we consistently apply Driveline's system of player development over a long period of time to a group of athletes that need it most. By doing so, I firmly believe we can change what their baseball futures will look like by getting them closer to the truth of how good they can possibly be. The other is by providing educational material to coaches all over the world, showing them how to execute and implement that same approach. By doing so, we can expand the area of effect beyond our own teams. The result is this book that was printed in 2 pieces because it's too big. Next year when you see the ABCA, I'll have the retail copy. The content in these pages, the theory, approach, drills, and games represents everything that I know right now, having devoted my life to youth baseball for more than a decade. I'm confident that in the next decade, some of the methods of our approach will change, but will not change the principles. Development should be the priority in youth baseball. The need is there, the stakes are low, and the opportunities are high. Unfortunately, development opportunity is often neglected. Our intention is to change that. If you agree with us that development should be a priority, then this book is for you. Believe me when I say that I wish you all the success in the world implementing these concepts, which is why this book is so detailed, as Jordan talked about and we argued about, not only on the what, but also the why of the approach. The more people in youth baseball that understand what it actually means to develop players, the greater our capacity to affect change. And the players, our sons and daughters, deserve it. So that's the formal part. Cormac McCarthy has a great quote in a book called The Road about the relationship between parents and kids. It goes, he knew only that his child was his warrant. He said, if he is not the word of God, then God never spoke. Man, I could care less about what you want to do with collegiate professional baseball players. That's somebody else's area of expertise, that's somebody else's passion, and I love them for trying to do the most that they can. I could give a shit. The thing I care about is creating more kids that have a path to be competitive 90-foot baseball, and that's it, full stop. You're not going to create more college roster spots. You can't, right? You can't create more colleges. Pro ball is not going to get any easier to get into. However, I am convicted to the core of my fucking soul that you can have more kids have competitive 90-foot baseball experiences and everything that means if you simply change the way that you spend time from when they are 6 to when they are 14. It's really, really simple. It is a choice in a time allocation game. Our game is predicated on hitting and throwing. All of our action revolves around that. How often do you see youth teams spending an inordinate amount of time on things that are not that? I've been one of those guys. I did it because I thought the path to success was win the most games that we possibly could, and certainly at the end of that, hopefully we still have winners. But when you go from 60-foot bases to 70-foot bases to 80-foot bases to 90-foot bases in the space of like 3 years, you have to understand the path of where you're trying to get to. You have to understand the necessity of that new play space. And if you under-index for that stuff, it is no surprise that 1.6 to 1.8 million kids every single year stop. And they stop before they play 90. And they never get that moment where you put on spikes, you walk out in the dugout for the first time, and you hear what it sounds like. Because it ain't the same. It's different. I was lucky enough to play this game a little bit long enough so that I have a little bit of those experiences that I still remember and I hold them really tightly in my heart. Again, I wasn't that good as a baseball player. But those experiences are the one that when I had kids made me want to put a bat and ball in their hands. I have no idea what my son is going to do in this game. It's not my responsibility anymore. The only thing that I think we did successfully was unf myself to the point that I got him to the point that he wanted to play 90-foot baseball. And if he wants to do it, then it's my responsibility as a coach to help him have the skills or at least a concrete understanding of what that looks like. Again, the thing is to teach kids how to be resilient. Baseball teaches that in a unique way. Some of the most successful people I know were not great baseball players, but they played this game long enough to understand how to persevere through shit. When you think about this massive hemorrhaging of players we have every single year, that's 1.6 to 1.8 million kids that don't learn that lesson that our game can teach. So it's pretty simple. Baseball's a lot more fun when you're good at it. It sucks when you're bad at it. And if we understand that hitting and throwing are the things that our game revolves around, we probably want to have a little bit more of our chips on that side of the table. I know some really, really good high school baseball coaches. I spent a lot of time with Pudge Gorman up in Virginia a couple weekends ago at the ABCA. Pudge has created more draft picks and college D1 kids than I can count. The moment that that guy starts asking my son or me about his club team's win-loss record, I will start acting in accordance. I'm not going to hold my breath. High school coaches are looking for dudes, straight up. They're looking for dudes of skill. That's what they want. You need to have the athletic composition, you need to have the skill behind it. And if you look like that, you have a shot to play competitive 90-foot baseball. I am doing nothing other than stroke my ego if I hemorrhage learning opportunities for kids in order to maximize the amount of wins that I can get from my program. Or I'm trying to make money, right? I'm trying to make money. And I'm trying to make money in a very specific way, which is the safest value proposition that I can communicate to a parent is that winning is safe, losing is dangerous. My biological imperative more than anything else is to keep him safe. It's my job. So if I attach losing and danger, it's really easy to see when coaches intentionally hemorrhage learning opportunities. When we were in the middle of COVID, there was this really small window of time where things kind of opened up. In his 11U team, before we had teams at Driveline, we drove 3-4 hours away to play in a tournament that weekend. First game, we're playing against a large organization in our area that no longer exists because they got bought out by somebody. And I'm watching their head coach. They're hitting first, we're in the field. Take sign, take sign, take sign, take sign, walk. Take sign, take sign, take sign, take sign, walk. Take sign, take sign, take sign, take sign, walk. I understand the strategy. The more base runners I get, the more likely it is I'm going to score runs. Scoring runs is good, sure. But you didn't earn it. 90-foot baseball, you got to earn it. But you can game theory optimal your way like a scumbag to win a crap ton of youth baseball games. To do what? To make money, to stroke your own ego. And if you are hemorrhaging learning opportunities for children, then you're a piece of shit. Straight up. I've been working too long today, and I'm very tired, and I have not enough food and not enough coffee, so apologies. Got a little fired up there. Yeah, I know, I'll get over there. Anyways, so the book is everything I got to throw at the problem. And it's everything to start with the why of why we want to advocate for this specific approach, why you can benefit by creating this type of thing. And I will tell you, my brother Jeremy Techtiel right there runs the academy with me. I could not do anything that I do with this book without that man right there. But Jeremy will tell you, we are building what we're calling like our 90-mile-an-hour army. We have somewhere between 20 to 25 kids that are 14 to 15 years old that are going to hit a ball, or have already hit a ball at 90 miles an hour or harder. At 14 to 15. One of those kids might also be over there. And I certainly did not supply him with a lot of elite genetics. He wants it really bad and he works his ass off. The reason that we want to build this 90-mile-an-hour army is that not all those kids are going to go hit a ball 100. Like, that's for sure not going to happen. They're not all going to play D1. They're not all going to go play college baseball. But I am convicted that if I supply those kids with the skill that allows them to have fun and be competitive on a 90-foot field, it is more likely they're going to play this game for longer, straight up. That's it. It's just a value prop thing. Some of those kids are going to have 90-foot baseball careers that end at high school. Some of those kids are going to go play D1, some are going to go play pro. The trick is we didn't start with a bunch of genetic outliers. We didn't start with kids that are built like me at 11. Do you remember that tournament we went to? We walked up to this field, it was like an 11U tournament. Walking on the field, I'm like, man, that team has a lot of coaches. 3/4 of that team was built like me at 11U. We got smoked. We got smoked. And that's fine, right? Like, that's fine. Those kids are better at that stage of thing. They're physically tooled. That's fine. The question is, who's going to sustain it, right? You can be dominant at 11 as a big kid on a small field. What's that look like at 14? What's that look like at 15? What's that look like in a 90-foot field? Anyways, I feel like I'm rambling. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for listening. Again, this is the only thing that I think I'm good at in life. I've been a crappy internet salesman. I've been a crappy employee at a bank. I've been a crappy manager of a process service company. I've done a lot of different things. And this is just everything that I think I can give you about, again, how to love your kids in a really specific way through this game of baseball. And all of them, right? Some of those kids are going to be dudes. Some of the kids are being dudes, even if they don't throw the ball hard. And at the end of the day, the only thing I'm advocating for is when that kid is 25 to 30 at an appropriate time and decides to have a child, that they decide, hey, let's go play catch. Let's go hit. That's the only thing I'm trying to solve for. So that's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Still digesting that, so I'm going to guess that, I'm sorry to lighten the mood here. I'm going to guess that when you got on the plane to come to Grapevine, Texas a couple of days ago, that's not what you were expecting to show up and experience. And maybe now you know why he's become more than a colleague for me. He's a brother. And here we go. My 4-year-old daughter, who throws really hard, and I also did not genetically bless her. My 4-year-old daughter throws hard because of the things that we teach her, and I don't push baseball on her, strangely enough. Everybody's sure I'm going to, and I don't. And I share videos, and we laugh at my daughter together. She doesn't know that. Apparently she does, because she's on my phone all the time at 4 years old. And when I told her what we were doing here, she asked if, when she finally gets to meet Deven, she asked us, has he seen me throw, Daddy? I'm like, yeah, I sent him the video. And has he seen me jump on plyo boxes, Daddy? Because I'm teaching her skills that scale without pushing it, right? When she was 2 years old, she wanted to climb on Daddy, and all I told her was, you can't use your hands. It was because I wanted her to build core strength so she could be an athlete one day, if she wants to, and if not, it's probably not a bad thing to be a strong little midget of a little girl, right? No downside to being core strong at 3, 4, 5 years old, and then take it from there. And now she's exemplary. And I send him, I'm probably boring him to death. I'm sending him pictures of 4-year-old girl jumping on plyo boxes all day long.
She's got great arm action. Like, the elbow spiral is super legit.
See what I mean?
Like, no bullshit.
And now, sure enough, to take that in a different direction, my 4-year-old daughter asked me, when she finally gets to meet Deven, does he have a hug for her? So if I didn't tell you that the guy's heart was in the right place, I think you all know it now. You know, I want to dovetail off of some of the things that Deven just shared with you, because the one thing that maybe I don't agree with, no matter how convicted you are, it's not easy to implement what Deven's talking about, but I know it's the right path. In my heart of hearts, there's no question. So I started to think about and mobilize our entire organization to figure out how we're going to do it. And it's taken years, because we've sort of meandered about. He didn't write the book soon enough, and I agree. And I want you to understand a few things, because I borrowed a lot of really good thoughts from some really good people in our industry, right? First off, what makes baseball difficult? And I'm going to share some of this tomorrow. I don't want to go too down this road, because if you're going to be in the youth at the youth stage, I'll be there at 9:30 tomorrow, talking more about how to take your kids from cage to game, right? How do you get them to perform in a game as well as they perform in the cage? And some of it has to do with the philosophy of how you operate as a coach, which is hopefully going to be driven by some of the stuff you read in Deven's book. Go ahead. Let's throw it out there, right? Let's get a little more interactive. I mean, we can dim the lights and turn on the candles, but what makes baseball difficult? Because I know everybody's answer is going to be, right? We hear it for years. Our entire lives, we all hear the same thing. It's a game of failure. 3 out of 10 times you succeed, you're an all-star. Anything more than that, you're a Hall of Famer. Right? That's what makes baseball difficult. No, it doesn't. That's not what makes baseball difficult. That might be evidence that the game is difficult. That's not what makes baseball difficult. What makes it difficult is 2 things. Deven really got deep on one of them. It's a skill sport. If you're not good, baseball sucks. You're standing in a batter's box and you're terrified of the pitcher because he looks like Deven at 11. You got no shot of hitting him. And your mom and dad are yelling, just make contact with the $450 bat they just, really, that's all I can do, I can just make contact? Why don't we set a really high bar for my future here, right? How's that for a recipe for mediocrity for my life? Just make contact. Domingo Ayala did a whole the thing, some of you don't even remember that, right? Hey, you hit a 40 hopper to the second baseman, and you come in and everybody says, hey, good job, good contact. And some of you have been there. It wasn't good contact. The rest of your teammates just hit bombs, and you rolled out to the second baseman, and your hands hurt with the $450 bat, and everybody's slapping your hand saying good contact. No, it wasn't. You and you're not getting better. So what makes it difficult, number one, it's a skill sport. Like if we all went to wherever the gym is, or if they had a basketball court, we can all knock around, play soccer, we can go to the beach. There's a million sports we can go play, and everybody in this room, we'd have a great time. Can't do that with baseball. If you're a pitcher and you can't throw strikes because at 7 or 8 years old, the Little League coach, your dad, or somebody well-intentioned, you were throwing floaters. And you were the star pitcher. You know why? You were the only kid on the team that could throw strikes. But you didn't throw very hard, and nobody don't mess with him. He throws strikes. What is it, mystical? Don't mess with him. He throws strikes. He's throwing 32. As an aside, we had a kid come in that asked for an evaluation, $1,000. I'm going to put him on uplift. John, I got to send this. He's on it. We evaled a 13-year-old. He throws 44 miles an hour. The dad said he needs training. 44. We programmed the kid, put him on there. We send him a program. What do you think the phone call my PD team gets? Hey, how long do these workouts take? How do you think this is getting better? He's just going to take pitching lessons? Well, yeah. You know what the dad said? Well, he throws strikes. Well, he's not playing anymore. 44 doesn't reach. Where are the steel guys? What do the worst umps get at a steel tournament years ago? 12U 60-90. Oh. If you don't like an ump, give him 12U 60-90 games. You know why? Because most of the kids are trying to just throw strikes. The ball doesn't reach. So they're calling anything a strike, and then they got everybody throwing at it. Okay? So what makes it hard? It's a skill sport. If you're not good, it's not fun. And if it's not fun, you don't want to play anymore. And if you're bad, why am I doing this? So Deven's right on. If I keep letting that 6, 7, 8-year-old pitch, you know why he's successful? It's not just because he throws strikes. Because kids can hit. The ball's dropping so precipitously by the time it gets to home plate. Bobby Witt Jr. couldn't hit it. Okay, so there's one other thing that makes it so difficult. And this is where Driveline lives, and this is where Deven lives, and this is where we live. There's inputs, there's outputs, and there's outcomes. And every parent that I've come across in 16 years of doing this, I shouldn't say every, that's not fair. And most coaches, what do they ask for? The one thing our players can't control. The outcome. That kid gets up right now, hits a baseball 90 plus miles an hour to left center field. And one of your center fielders lays out, makes a diving catch. Did he fail or succeed? Go ahead. Who says he failed? Sure he did, right? The box score says 0 for 1, he failed. The coach, who hopefully was not Deven at this point, what did he ask for as his horse walks up to the plate? What do you say to him? Go get me a hit. Go get me a hit. Did he succeed or fail by that measure? He failed. But if he does it 100 times this season, hits 100 baseballs, 90 plus miles an hour, this is not philosophical. We don't need A-Rod to teach us how to swing down right now to get the answer to this one. The harder you hit a baseball, wait, where's John? John, you know this stuff. The harder I hit a baseball, the more hits I get. Whether they're ground balls, line drives, or fly balls, the harder you hit a baseball, the more hits you get. I don't care what your theory is, I don't care what your approach is. At every age, the harder you hit a baseball, the more hits you get. But let's ask them to get hits instead of asking them to swing hard. How many of you have told a kid, go swing as hard as you can at this guy? Raise your hand if you've ever said that. Awesome. Awesome, I love you. That's how you do it. So instead of asking for outcomes, you ask for inputs. The one thing that he can control. How hard he swings right now. You know what the other inputs are? How hard he worked this week. And it's funny, I say how hard he worked, that sounds like a negative thing. I'm going to guess, having watched almost as many videos that I've sent of him, of my 4-year-old jumping on plyo boxes, I know that he has a freaking great time swinging a bat. The hard work is actually fun. You know why? If you're good at this, you go take that into the game. And the best players in the game actually swing harder in-game than they do in practice. The guys who never make it swing harder in practice. Why? They're afraid to fail. Afraid to fail. Where's the consequence? So I often say, some of you think, and not you, right, or maybe you do, right, as a coach, right, the kid strikes out, or how many of you are the coach who your team doesn't turn a double play, and you turn around to the parents and you grandstand. I taught them that 5 times, I can't believe they couldn't turn it. Well, if I were the parent that you said that to, I might mumble to myself, because I don't want to get into it with you, I'd say, well, obviously you didn't teach it well enough those 5 times, otherwise they would have executed. You don't need to save your ego in front of me and say, it's the kid's fault they didn't execute. No, it's not. You didn't train them well enough. So let's get back on track. What's the role of a coach? Is it to win baseball games? This is sacrilege, right? What if I tell you your role, my role, is actually not to win the game? I didn't come up with this on my own. John Daniels was a year behind me in my high school. Isn't that great? I can't say that he's a baseball player. I got the GM, right? Brilliant. If you haven't already met him, go find him in this industry. He's as generous as anybody could be, and he's freaking brilliant. We're together at an alumni event from my high school. I say, John, I got a question for you. Right? You know what I do? Yeah. So what's the role of a major league manager? And he looks at me funny, like, what a stupid question. But he knew there was going to be something, right? There was a punchline there. He said, well, I said, I'll tell you why in a minute. He said, well, the obvious, right? You're the public face of the team. You set the lineup, you in-game strategy, manage the pitching staff, manage the bullpen. That's it. He said, and then there's one more thing. And it's the most important thing in my mind, which is why this is when Ron Washington was coaching for him, managing for him. He said, I got one of the 2 best in the MLB. The other is Joe Madden. Anybody know what it is? Motivating 25 unique, individual, multi-millionaires to go do their best every day, day after day, for 250 consecutive days. Preseason, season, hopefully postseason. That's the role of a major league manager. It's the most important thing they can do. I didn't need to explain to him why I asked, because I got more than I bargained for. In that one moment, he crystallized everything that I needed to build my organization around. The role of a coach, and I learned this from Tom House, but it was somehow different, right? For those of you who studied with Tom, and I don't necessarily agree with all this, I mean, I was part of the NPA for years, but kind of didn't follow along with what we now know. But if anybody knows how to coach and teach coaches how to coach, it's Tom. 3 words: inform, instruct, inspire. And if you do the things to be able to inform, be able to instruct, and be able to inspire, you'll be a successful coach. So what do you ask for in a game? What's the role of a coach? Train, prepare, motivate, and inspire every ball player, every interaction. Whether it's a quick chat about nothing,
It's a team practice, it's a batting practice, it's a lesson, it's a class, it's a camp, it's a game. They need to walk away more inspired than when they got there. That's our job. Every one of us. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am the most selfish person I know. I get joy out of that piece. I personally derive joy from being able to do that with kids. Where they go and perform better than they thought they could perform. That's fascinating to me. And I got news. You'll win more games if your players go out and perform because they're prepared, right? And preparation leads to confidence, right? You can't just say, hey, how many times have you heard it? How many parents have said, be confident? What is there, a button in my bag that says, okay, I'm confident now? That's right up there with just throw strikes. If I could do that, we wouldn't be having this conversation, but thanks, great advice. Confidence comes from preparation. He'll tell you right now, and I can tell you from my own experience. There were days I didn't want the ground ball. If I felt that in my heart, I had a bad day. And it wasn't mind over matter. My entire approach was ruined. Something was wrong. I don't know what caused it. Maybe too many Eggo waffles or not enough, because that was the breakfast of choice back then. But when you are prepared, the confidence is there. You go up into every bat, and one of my players said, I'm going to share this tomorrow. We got one ball player who in a season took one called strike. One. In a season. Struck out one time, and it was the same at bat. And I went to him, I said, hey Maxwell, I don't understand. What are you thinking when the pitch is on the way? Because good. When he was 12, he was in baseball's 84. And he goes, oh, I'll tell you what I think about it. I said, what is it? He said, because I love coaching you because there's something different about your at-bats. He goes, every pitch, I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. Kid changed my life as a coach. One sentence. Every pitch is a chance for me to hit a home run. Wow. He's not winning the at-bat. Every pitch is a competition. So if he swings and misses, that's now the he don't give a where's the next one? Let's go. It's a battle. And he's having a blast doing it because he can hit home runs on a tiny field, hitting balls 84. Balls are going out all day long. So every pitch, and the reason he struck out, we spoke about it. Taking the pitch, he thought it was a ball, the ump called it a strike, he caught him off guard, he just starts shaking his head, it's in his head, swings through, fouls the ball off, and then tips the ball into the glove. I was there. And he said it, he goes, I wasn't thinking about it anymore. Now all I was thinking about was, I can't believe he called. Like, really? It was one pitch, dude. Get past it. You just hit like 12 home runs in a couple of weeks. Every pitch is a chance for me to hit a home run. So I ask kids, because not all the kids are doing that. I ask the kids, are you going to swing harder than you've ever swung before in this game? Are you going to set a PR in this game for bat speed? Can you do it? Yeah, coach. Go do it. You know what the box score looks like after that competition? Because we have competitions all the time in our younger teams. Whoever swings the hardest, whoever hits the ball the hardest today, wins something. We don't even care what it is. We have all sorts of swag in our organization. It's kind of cool. And kids are like, yeah, I want to design my own hat, whatever. Great. You know why? When you got a bunch of tiny kids on a baseball field playing a bunch of bigger kids, and you knock out 6 straight hits to start out a game, what does that look like for the rest of the day? When the other team's ace is like, how are these midgets hitting nukes off of me? They're just spraying line drives around the field. Coach comes over to me on a team that should have beaten us to death. And he goes, what are you teaching these kids? I go, to swing. He goes, no, I obviously, but what do you teach them? I go, to swing. He goes, no, I get that, but what do you teach them? I go, okay, to swing hard. He goes, no, like what? I said, that's it. Go swing. We ask kids all the time, when do you hit better? When you're in the backyard home run derby or on the beach or in a game? They go, oh, no, the home run derby, coach. I go, do you swing like that in a game? No. Why not? How do you get that to happen as a coach? Ask for it. Don't ask for outcomes. Ask for inputs. Inputs will lead to outputs, and guess what? Outputs, on average, over time, and that's the catch, right? That's the asterisk. You're going to lose games. And if you want to win games, I'll take Deven's approach. How many of you, 7U team, 8U team, put down 20 bunts in a game? How many games are you going to win? All of them? All of them. You will win every game. But what happens when they're 8U? Do they win any games anymore? Okay, maybe 8. 9? So let's get back to it. How do we do this? How do we do it? Aside from asking for inputs, you got to go to the parents. Because you could talk development, and I want to share this with you because it blows me away. My buddy lives in Jersey. I'm in New York. That's far. Actually, he tried to play for Duke's team. Wasn't good enough because he's taken 4,700 baseball lessons from guys telling him swing down, elbow up, squash a bug, reach for the sky, foot to the sky, pick up the dollar, don't pick up the dollar, elbow the midget. I don't know. Yes. Okay. He joins a team in New Jersey, and they go to Diamond Nation, and they get, wrecked. And the parents are pissed off. You're not training our kids enough. And he tells the parents, no, we're a developmental team. That's a catch-all for losing. So you got to be careful. There's a pitfall here. The guys who tell you their dog ate their homework are screwing it up for the rest of us. Oh, we're a developmental team. That means if we lose, I can just tell you we're a development. What does that mean? You have the number 17 guy on a 16-man roster start game 1 of the tournament? Where's the development in that? That's bullshit. You have to explain to them what development is. Set the expectations. Development means it's not going to be equality of outcome. Not everybody's playing shortstop. If your son wants to play shortstop, or first base, more importantly, or pitcher, or catcher, he has to demonstrate in practice proficiency. Don't come to me and say, how is he ever going to be a good first baseman if you don't put him in? Well, I got to balance 2 things here. Your son's individual development and the feeling of reward when that kid who works out 93 days a week gets on the field and throws a ball across the infield and the first baseman gets hit in the neck. It's not fun. I don't want to be on this team, right? We're not taking it seriously. So you have to be able to explain that. When your son demonstrates proficiency in practice and we feel like he's ready to be in a game, we'll put him in the game. We're not going to set him up for failure or give him a chance because you asked for it or he asked for it. That's great that he asked. Go do the work. And when you demonstrate in practice, and this is what we tell them, and we say it nicely, without F-bombs. When they demonstrate that proficiency in practice, trust me, it behooves the coach to not have your kid on the bench. We want to put him in, because the more pitchers we have, the more games we're in, the happier you are. We get that. So you got to set real expectations. Why is my kid batting 8th? He went 2 for 3 last week, and the kid batting 3rd for the last 3 weeks, he went 0 for 3. Really? How's that for a small sample size error? Well, I'm looking on Game Changer. Well, you're the one keeping Game Changer, and your kid's like 9 for 4. He had 4 at bats, but he somehow has 9 hits. Right? So there's got to be a real understanding of what you're doing with development. You have to explain it at the start, not after they come to you to complain, because now they think you're being defensive. Here's our approach. There are going to be games we lose because I take the star pitcher out because he says or looks or is showing signs of being fatigued. Because I want him to pitch at USC. I want him to pitch at Duke. I'm not worried about our win-loss. Hold on, how many of you have ever been asked, and you all know where I'm going with this, how many major league scouts, college recruiters, insert anybody else here, have asked a kid's win-loss record at 11U baseball? So why does it matter, except for what Deven said? It's not just the ego of the coach, the ego of the parents too, right? They won the El Campeon trophy. It happened. I wish it didn't. Explain up front. Do not be defensive after they come to you and say, why'd you take out the horse? He could have gone one morning because he was tired. I don't give a shit if we win. I want to win with all the cards in the deck because that's what development is. I got to have 12 guys who can pitch. Deven will do the math for you. You play too many games, you don't have enough arms So what do? You ride the horse into the ground, you win the game, and everybody says, hey, great job. And then the kid's elbow hurts. Hey, it happens. Bullshit. It's our fault. It's our fault. What else do you need to do it? Measure what you want to develop. And tell the players and tell the parents ahead of time, this is what we're measuring. We're going to spend the whole winter working on bat speed. We're going to spend the whole winter working on attack angle that's appropriate for your child. We can get into more detail if you want afterwards. Right? The harder you hit, the higher you can launch. The slower you hit, let's not hit 35-degree, 42-mile-an-hour fly balls. They don't go very far. Right? What do you use to measure it? There are some really inexpensive solutions out there that every one of us should have, and I'm not selling one over another. You got to have a bat sensor. We use Blast. We love them. We think it's a terrific product. It's really easy to use. It's enabled us to scale. We use Pitch Logic now. We love it. You know why? Those two tools by themselves, your child, any one of your kids can coach themselves. Set up an iPad on a tripod with a Pitch Logic and a bat sensor, a Blast Motion, and give them a goal. One goal. Walk away. They're going to be better when you come back. So if you're the only one in your practice, you have no assistant coach, nobody else, do that. The tripod will be your assistant coach, and the kid's going to train himself. It's unbelievable. And I'm not telling you that they're going to self-organize and figure it out. If everybody could self-organize and figure it out, we'd all be pro baseball players. They might self-organize wrong. It'll be better than where they started, but it's not going to be effective in-game. Pocket radar, there's no reason you don't have it. And not so you can figure out who throws the pink plyo the hardest at 9 years old.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. It's to just measure development. It's not to see, can you hit a PR right now? Try one more time. They hit 79. No, coach, I'm going to hit 80 on the next one, 79. I'm going to do 80 on the next one, 79. I'm going to hit 80 on the 74. Uh-oh. Recipe for disaster. Hit tracks, no brainer. If not hit tracks, Rapsodo. The engagement's amazing. Seeing the connection, because I'm all about cage to game. Seeing the connection of what you do in the cage to what's going to happen on the field is great. Being able to tie for yourself the inputs to the outputs to the outcomes, winning recipe. You want to invest more, and the price is right on as far as I'm concerned. If your organization's big enough, we love Uplift. We love the direction they're going. It's going to be a platform for scalability because it's going to make every one of our coaches, and I'm going to get to that in a second, and then I'm going to wrap up. Uplift makes every one of your coaches smarter. It's that simple. Because not everybody's going to be Duke Baxter in the organization. Not everybody's going to be Steve Nickerak. If you don't know them already, you need to meet them tonight. If you came here for drills, say no more. I'm going to tell you right now. If you need drills or inspiration for drills, and you need ongoing planning, he's sitting right across from me, which is really cool because I'm staring at him. The energy is going to, and I'm guessing that most of us in this room have the energy that I'm talking about already. It's it right there. Those two guys right there, Duke, Steve, watch their content. It's incredible. Even if you don't use the exact drill they use, it's going to inspire you to improve what you do. It's incredible. Right? How many people have to read stuff for work outside of our industry and like, oh man, I got to read this thing my boss gave me. How many of you sit around watching content and you're like, babe, one more second, I just got to see this one more video. We do it because we love this. It's immersive. We're lucky. So what happens when the kids, and he'll tell you, go talk to him, don't talk to us. You can reach out to us anytime, you got an opportunity to talk to him. He's a little shy though. And he doesn't like cold cheese. It's a different conversation. Go get Uplift. It'll allow you to scale your organization. At least demo it, figure it out, take a look, because if you're not using it now, I'm telling you now, you're going to be using it at some point. The other thing you can do, if you're not ready to, you don't have enough coaching and manpower to individualize every program, take a look at your kids, measure them on Blast, or whatever tech you're using, and bucket them. You got 12 kids on a team, I'm telling you right now, if they're young, they got the same 4 problems, but these 3 kids have that problem, these 3 kids have that problem, these 3 kids have these 3 kids. Give this drill pack number 1, this number 2, this number 3, this number 4, and let them at it. You become scalable instantly. That's it. There's one more piece. Your coaching staff has to be on board. No rogue coaches. None. Culturally, they have to be fully invested in what you're doing. Because I'll tell you now, we have a coach on my staff who now stands in front of we have staff training every day of the week except for Saturday and Sunday in our organization. All year long, every day, unless we have a camp going on indoors, there's staff training every day. Monday through Friday, every week. Wednesday, full staff, 20 coaches all together. This one coach who was rogue, he was like, this guy's crazy. Comes back to me, yeah, we need situational hitting. My team struck out a bunch. What you're talking about is not working. I look at his stuff and go, your swing? Pitch selection? Who cares about pitch selection? And Mike Trout, what do you think? You think he had a good eye at 9U baseball? Or was he just raking? You swing the ball at your neck and you hit a bomb at 9U, what does it inspire you to do? Go hit more bombs. It's fun. Good eye at 9. If you're inspiring a good eye at 9U, you're wasting the kid's time. Let him swing. But your coaches have to be on board with the philosophy. And they have to be able to communicate it and train it. And it's your job. If you want to scale your organization and you want to be able to come to Dallas, Grapevine, wherever we go every year, without worrying, oh man, I'm not in the shop. I'm missing lessons. I'm missing this. You're making a mistake. If it's costing you anything more than the plane ticket and the $75 that we pay to be here and the hotel, if there's opportunity cost for you to be here, there's a problem in your organization. You're not scalable. And that's not an insult. It's time to train your coaches to death. The more you train them, the more bodies you got out there that can go train more kids. And if they're doing what this guy's talking about, you got a lot of happy kids in your organization. And happy kids make happy parents. And then your organization grows. Not because you put the 2 horses and your cousin that you brought in on the van last week and gave him a New Jersey with a blank on it because you didn't have any number. Yeah, did I say it? Yeah. Train your coaches. The way we do it, we think of it in 3 things. Culture, content, and coaching. Culture, you got to be on board with the way we approach this. Content, if you don't understand the content of what we're teaching, how to swing, how to throw, how to execute the drills, whatever drills they are, can't move forward. Coaching, how do you communicate? Because you could have the best content in the world. If you can't communicate it because you're a nasty grouch, it's not going to work. You got to be able to communicate this stuff to the kids and inspire them. That's it. Go read this stuff. Go consume this stuff. Go live by it and make it your own. Right? Because it's not going to work for everybody. Not every detail is going to work for every organization. But let it inspire what you do, because I'm telling you now, and this is not blowing smoke, if you're in this room, there's a reason you were here. This was a choice on your part. Or you heard that there was pulled brisket and it was going to be pretty good. Either way, I'm happy. That's all I got for you.